This is Kido Manabu, and yes, he is already dead. This is definitely not the way you want to start a story. Congrats, speedrun to death any percentage. Before he kicked the bucket, our boy finally landed a job at a massive corporation. He thought he was about to live the dream after barely surviving school. Turns out the dream was actually a nightmare at an unhinged black company. His boss welcomes the crew with a scream that could wake the dead. Actually a corporate torture dungeon run by a bald demon who looks like he bench presses souls for fun. Welcome to black company hell, population you loser. At this place, one word rules them all. Zosu is the ultimate greeting, the ultimate response, and the ultimate way to stay alive. Whether they are saying sorry or thank you, it is always just Zosu. It is the standard equipment for these corporate warriors. Like NPCs with zero self-respect while our boy awkwardly bows, already questioning every life decision. Yeah bro, you're not in a job, you're in a cult DLC. The boss slams his desk and demands they recite the company creed. These guys are basically being brainwashed in real time. They scream out the rules with every ounce of energy they have left. Every single rule starts with the number 1, because everything here is a top priority. The boss goes full demon mode on anyone who misses their quota. K2 can only stand there sweating and screaming Zosu for his life. Hitting the quota is just the bare minimum in this office. The boss continues his verbal assault, making it clear that perfection is the only way to survive. Life is just a blur of endless overtime and sacrificed holidays. This is the grim reality for every soul trapped in this corporate hell. The exhaustion finally catches up to him in the worst way. A sudden accident brings his miserable corporate career to a permanent end. Yet Truk another victim. Now he is just a wandering spirit with nothing but regrets. He realized he spent his whole life studying and working, never taking a single moment to actually enjoy being alive. The total darkness of the void doesn't last long. A sudden radiance cuts through the gloom and changes everything. Floating in front of him is a literal goddess named Iris. She greets him with a divine presence, providing a massive upgrade from his screaming boss. There is no point in questioning reality when someone this holy shows up. Kadu just rolls with it, accepting that his luck might finally be turning around. Iris drops a bombshell and explains that his miserable life was never supposed to happen. It turns out a glitch in the system caused him to suffer for no reason. Iris leans in and drops some celestial law, explaining that according to Article 7 of the Heavenly Constitution, they are granting him a second life in another world. Since they are the ones who messed up his original run, his next adventure is going to be a medieval fantasy. He just stays quiet as she holds his hand and promises to make things right. She offers him a major upgrade for his second life. You are allowed one wish, anything you want. The goddess keeps rambling on about the divine mistakes, but he isn't even catching half of it. Manabu completely checks out of the conversation because her visuals are just on another level. Honestly, he is just wondering how she can even be this cute. She is a walking masterpiece, from her flowing golden hair down to a figure that does not even seem human. Those curves from the hips down are top tier. Plus, her voice is so soothing it sounds just like a hymn. The man is officially down bad. She is exactly his type, and apparently she smells just as good as she looks. Our boy doesn't waste any time and shouts that he wants to marry her right now. He is a straightforward man who doesn't believe in holding back. Iris ignores the proposal and tells him he can have anything he wants, like mastering every kind of magic. Iris offers him the ultimate starter pack, including infinite magic bags and a top-tier dragon familiar. K2 is stunned by the choices and wonders if he can really pick absolutely anything. With a gentle smile, she confirms that the choice is entirely in his hands. He wastes no time and moves in, taking her hands as he makes his final decision. He shouts his proposal at the top of his lungs, demanding she marry him and join his new life. Who needs legendary loot when you can have a goddess as your partner? Iris takes a moment to process the request, realizing that he is completely serious about this. A brilliant flash of divine light signals that his unconventional wish has been granted. The shock finally breaks through her professional mask and she lets out a massive scream. Her face burns with embarrassment as the reality of her new situation sinks in. She frantically tries to buy some time, completely losing her composure. Kadu just watches her panic, realizing she is a lot more human than she looks. Kadu wonders aloud if he just isn't her type, but she is quick to shut that down. She gets right in his personal space to clarify that she actually has a soft spot for sincere guys. It turns out she already did a background check on him and knows exactly what kind of person he was. K2 admits he spent his whole life studying, which seems to have been the right move after all. K2 starts to think his miserable past was actually a blessing in disguise. If his hard work left this kind of impression on a goddess, it was all worth it. Iris tries to talk some sense into him, emphasizing that his wish can be anything. He stays locked in, ignoring the legendary loot on the table. He lets out a shout that would make his old boss proud. There is not a single thing in existence he wants more than the girl standing in front of him. Panic sets in for the goddess as she tries to figure out how to handle this life shift. Despite her internal crisis, she knows she has to honor the wish. She steps forward and grabs his arm to confirm the proposal. Katu can feel his heart pounding against his ribs as reality finally sinks in. Regaining her composure, Iris reminds him that a divine promise is unbreakable. She is officially his partner for the long haul. K2 asks if she is for real, and her enthusiastic confirmation is loud enough to wake the dead. The deal is done. The atmosphere shifts as Iris starts spinning her halo around like a toy. K2 is left wondering if his new wife has a short attention span. A head pops out of the water like a strange guacamole. Iris recognizes her junior immediately, shouting out the name Skuld in surprise. Skuld drags herself onto land, looking like she just pulled an all-nighter. She can't believe Iris is actually retiring from her divine duties just to get married. K2 wonders if every goddess is this pretty, but he quickly course corrects. In his mind, Iris is still the undisputed GOAT. Iris gives her colleague a tight squeeze while apologizing for the sudden career shift. Skuld doesn't seem to mind, taking the new responsibility in stride. The conversation shifts to their nightmare boss, and Skuld is just glad to be out of her reach. Kato realizes the corporate grind is universal, even for deities. Skuld starts thinking about finding a human husband for herself as she gets ready to send them off. She activates the magic circle with a bored look. The ground erupts in a blinding light as the teleportation magic takes hold. This is the official start of their new life together. Skuld waves them off with a cheeky parting wish. She hopes the struggles of a medieval world will keep their marriage spicy. Skuld throws her hands up with a lazy goodbye, wishing them the best. The teleportation light begins to envelop the couple. K2 asks if she is really sure about this one last time. Iris grabs his sleeve and reminds him that a goddess never breaks her word. She turns bright red and asks him to make sure he makes her happy. K2 is stunned by her cuteness. K2 shouts his promise at the top of his lungs, catching her off guard. He tells himself to act confident just like his senior taught him. She looks up with a blush and tells him to drop the formal name. She is determined to support her new husband properly. Taking a moment to compose himself, Kato reaches out a hand. He officially greets her as just Iris. She smiles and takes his hand, finally calling him by his name. The teleportation circle fully activates, pulling them into the unknown. A scenic view of mountains and trees greets them. Stepping onto the grass, K2 realizes they have officially arrived in another world. Stepping into the dense tree line, the reality of their situation finally sinks in. Looks like they really are starting from scratch in the middle of a forest. Iris immediately starts moping, feeling bad that her presence cost him a proper starter house. She is already apologizing for being a burden. Our boy is a smooth operator though, telling her that having a cute wife is the only perk he needs. He gives a confident thumbs up while she freezes in shock. The compliment absolutely breaks her. She basically starts melting into a puddle of pure embarrassment while thanking him under her breath. Back to business, they need to figure out the basics like food and a roof over their heads. He is determined to keep his new wife from having to sleep in the dirt. Iris looks genuinely relieved to be of use, admitting that useless people usually lose their place. K2 just watches her with a concerned look, wondering what kind of life she lived before this. She decides it is time for a goddess flex. To get them to safety, she suggests using her divine powers to teleport them both straight to the nearest town. The mood shifts as Iris ends up on the ground, angrily ripping up grass and mumbling about being a rookie. K2 watches her back, realizing she probably had a rough time as a junior deity. Iris cleared her throat and struck a majestic pose, ready to flex her divine powers. She hyped it up and shouted her teleport spell, only for the magic to fail instantly. The light fizzled out, leaving them exactly where they started. Shocked and embarrassed, she could only stand there while Manabu watched the disaster unfold. Searching for answers, she cracked open her employee manual and her face immediately went pale. The manual explained that leaving heaven means losing all system access. She basically started mourning her lost job on the spot. Our girl was so depressed she started ripping up the grass and calling herself a failure. Manabu tried to play it cool by saying a god having limits actually makes a lot of sense. He hit her with the smooth line that he didn't bring her along just for magic. She appreciated the thought, but the vibe was still pretty heavy. Knowing they needed a plan, Manabu started climbing a tree to scout the area. Iris watched from below, terrified that he was about to fall. Our boy gives a thumbs up, completely unfazed by their current mess. Compared to his old job where homeowners chased him with katanas, this is a walk in the park. Iris can only gape in horror, wondering what kind of nightmare company he worked for. A quick flashback reveals the state of his previous life. Apparently his sales tactics were so pushy that one customer finally snapped. Manabu just stood there in his suit, face to face with a very sharp blade. It turns out his predecessor used to harass people late at night, which is basically criminal behavior. The homeowner finally had enough and delivered a decisive slash. Back in reality, he shakes off the dark memory and gets back to the task at hand. After climbing up to scout, the scale of the world finally hits him. It is a vast forest with a distant town tucked between the mountains. While he enjoys the view, Iris struggles to keep her footing on the rough terrain. Gravity finally wins as he takes a tumble from the branches. Iris rushes over in a panic to check if he is still in one piece. He lets out a painful shout, clearly feeling the impact of the fall. He clutches his leg, admitting that his ankle took the brunt of the landing. Even though he tries to play it cool and walk it off, The injury looks real. Iris watches him with worry, clearly not wanting him to push himself. A light bulb goes off in her head as she remembers her divine status. She realizes she might actually be able to use her powers to patch him up. With a determined look, she prepares to give healing a shot. Manabu is skeptical since she just finished saying her powers were gone. She clarifies that while system access is cut off, healing is her innate ability. She leans in close, ready to show off what a goddess can actually do. Iris gets to work, her hands glowing with divine light as she starts the healing process. The glow fades, and the relief hits Manabu the moment his foot touches the ground. He is hyped to be back on his feet, but Iris looks crushed. Since her connection to heaven is cut, she can only do a basic patch job and feels like a total letdown. To snap her out of it, our boy goes full fanboy mode, pulling out banners to declare her the absolute GOAT. Iris is basically short-circuiting from all the unexpected praise. He watches her hide her face in total embarrassment, thinking she looks way too adorable when she is flustered. Manabu leads her toward a new spot, but he is clearly on edge about any monsters that might be lurking in the bushes. Iris admits she can't guarantee their safety, making the vibe even more tense. He tells her that if they run into trouble, he will hold them off while she makes a break for it. Iris is not about that life and immediately starts protesting the idea. Standing tall, he drops the heavy line that he only married her because he wanted to cherish and protect her. The girl is melting from his heavy declaration. She can barely keep it together, looking away in a flustered mess while trying to process the vibes. They stumble upon a small wooden house tucked away in the forest. Manabu gives a casual thumbs up, admitting he spotted the place while he was stuck in the tree earlier. The place is a fixer-upper, covered in thick layers of dust and abandoned tools. Manabu decides they should borrow the space for a while since nobody seems to be using it. Iris is still on the fence about trespassing, but our boy is way too confident. He jokes that his toxic old job made him a pro at apologizing, which only makes the goddess more concerned for his mental health. Their life as a newly married couple in a brand new world is officially underway. It is not exactly a palace, but this quiet forest house will have to do for now. Back inside, Manabu starts scouting the dusty shelves for a quick snack to end the day. He is feeling pretty optimistic now that they have a roof over their heads. Iris manages to find some spare clothes, but the kitchen situation is a total bust. Every jar in the place is bone dry, leaving their dinner plans in the dust. Shelter and clothes are officially checked off the list, and the old well outside still works for water. Now they just need to figure out how to find a meal. The sound of steel hitting wood echoes as Manabu drives a knife into a tree. It is time to start the hunt for some food. Marking the trees as they go, Manabu makes sure they won't get turned around in the thick woods. Iris watches him work, clearly impressed by how fast he is adapting. She admits she didn't expect him to be this capable coming from a supposedly safe world. Our boy just shrugs it off like it is no big deal. The truth is his survival skills came from a toxic corporate training program that dumped him in the mountains with a 20-kilometer hike home. Iris is absolutely floored that any company would call that normal. Thinking back, his old sales job was basically a survival horror game. Navigating the forest is actually a walk in the park compared to his rookie training. Manabu remembers his boss bragging about their brutal training program. The company actually thought it was a win because no one had died yet. Back in reality, the couple searches the dense forest for something to eat. There has to be some fruit around here. Luck is on their side. Manabu finds some berries and Iris confirms they are edible lyrica fruits. He is surprised she knows the local food. She explains she studied the world beforehand to help the person being reincarnated. Even though it was not part of the job, she did the research just for him. She really went the extra mile. Manabu smiles and tells her she is truly kind. Iris immediately turns bright red and tries to talk her way out of the compliment. This level of care for a total stranger is something he is not used to. He realizes he hit the jackpot. Without a second thought, he reaches out for a head pat. They are married now, so he decides this is just a perk of the job. Iris is completely flustered as Manabu gives her a gentle head pat. She jumps back in a panic, wondering why he would do that so suddenly. Our boy just watches her with a grin, thinking she is way too cute. Manabu turns back to the trees to finish up, but a sudden rustle in the brush catches Iris's attention. She screams a warning for him to watch out. Before he can move, a wild beast bursts from the shadows and charges directly at him. This is an anger boar, a legitimate monster native to this forest. The beast huffs and prepares to trample anything in its path. Manabu stares the monster down and asks the only question that matters. He turns to Iris and asks if the beast is actually edible. After Iris mentions it is actually quite tasty, our boy starts drooling at the thought of a feast. He is ready to turn this monster into lunch. He brings up some survival tips he saw about eating meat to prevent malnutrition, even if it has to be raw. Iris tries to tell him fruit is plenty, but he is already fully committed to the hunt. This beast is actually smaller than our boy, so he decides this is his big chance. A real meal is finally on the menu. Iris is shaking while asking if he is scared. Keeping her behind him, he tells her to stay back. Seeing her panic makes him wonder if he should even be feeling fear. The monster kicks up dirt and charges straight for them. Memories of the true horror from his previous life start to resurface. Those days were spent making 200 cold calls while hitting every door in the neighborhood. A potential deal turned into a disaster when he accidentally walked into a Yakuza office. The thugs were stunned by the nerve of this kid trying to sell them something. Dealing with criminals was bad enough, but his boss was on another level. This company actually viewed missing a sales quota as a criminal offense. A terrifying grin spread across the manager's face. In their company court, the only sentence they ever handed out was death. With his heart hammering, the pressure became unbearable. Every choice felt like walking straight into a nightmare. He laughs in the face of danger. To a guy who survived the corporate underworld, this beast is nothing more than a walk in the park. Memories of his old job come flooding back. He used to grovel on the floor just to get a word in about investment properties. Back in the forest, he declares the boar is officially on the menu. Iris screams as the monster charges, but he is already planning his next move. The plan falls apart immediately. He catches a direct hit and goes flying through the air like a discarded toy. After hitting the ground, he finally admits that wild animals are on a different level. He lies there bleeding while the monster huffs in the background. Even with a broken rib and a face full of blood, he tries to act like it is no big deal. Iris is not buying it and begs him to go find some fruit instead. He takes a second to appreciate how much she cares. Her panicked face is so adorable that he almost forgets his internal organs are screaming. Quitting now would mean they lose everything. He drags himself upright and takes a sharp breath to lock in his focus. Our boy strikes a pose and starts screaming corporate slogans like his life depends on it. He claims that beyond the impossible lies a world of pure potential. The vibe shifts instantly as his ribs make a terrifying cracking sound. He tries to act cool and says it is all about guts, but Iris is just confused by his sudden outbursts. He takes off into the woods with a plan in mind. To a former salesman, every challenge in life can be solved with enough raw willpower. This man is actually out here taunting a wild beast with playground insults. He hides behind a tree and tells the monster to come and get some. It is all part of the master plan to make the beast lose its cool. He knows that in the world of high-stakes sales, the first one to get angry is the first one to lose. The monster falls for the bait and slams headfirst into the trunk. He times his move perfectly and lets gravity do the rest of the work. Seeing the beast defeated brings back memories of dealing with nightmare customers. He learned the hard way that staying calm is the only way to close a deal when things get physical. He stands over his prize and stares down at the massive boar. The hunt is officially over. He grips his knife and starts chanting every prayer in the book. Bro is really asking for a blessing before he even takes a bite. The rush finally fades and he collapses into the dirt with a heavy thud. His body is officially on strike after that performance. Iris panics and rushes over with her hands glowing. She promises to heal him up before things get any worse. While the magic does its work, he tries to act tough by asking if he looked cool during the fight. Iris admits he did, but tells him he definitely overdid it. Her eyes start to well up as she speaks from the heart. Seeing him hurt or suffering is the one thing she cannot handle. He stares up at the sky in total shock. It is the first time in his life that someone actually cared about his pain. Years ago, his parents were always breathing down his neck about grades. Back then, it was all about the future and never about his own happiness. His old boss was even worse, demanding results even if it killed him. To the corporate world, he was just a tool to be used and discarded. Manabu stares up at the sky, finally realizing that someone actually cares about his well-being. Iris looks down at him, her heart melting because she finally found someone who worries about her just as much as she worries about him. He starts wailing like a baby, completely overwhelmed by the sudden wave of affection. Iris goes into a full panic thinking he is still in pain, while he is secretly just dying from how cute she is. He looks up and calls out her name. He lunges forward and pulls her into a tight squeeze, begging her to marry him again. Iris is totally flustered and has to remind him that they are already hitched. This level of kindness is making him fall for her all over again. Heaven is looking pretty peaceful as Skode munches on some snacks. She takes a moment to wonder how her seniors are handling life on the outside. The scene is a bit more chaotic for Manabu as he clings to Iris and begs for another marriage proposal. He is caught up in the moment, while Iris just reminds him that they already tied the knot. Back at the office, Skuld gets a sharp reality check from her superior. Apparently, a lunch break is not an excuse to slack off on the job. She quickly puts on a polite act and promises to get back to work for the goddess leader Freya. The second her boss looks away, she sighs and admits the corporate life is a drag. Smoke rises from the cabin chimney while the couple prepares a meal. Manabu watches the boar meat cook and feels lucky to have a wife who can handle magic so easily. Iris explains that she even set up a barrier to keep the monsters away for the night. She found a beginner magic book on the shelf that helped her get the job done. This gets the MC thinking as he reaches for one of the old volumes. If there are beginner guides in the house, he wonders if even a regular human like him can learn magic. He flips through the pages and realizes the text is perfectly clear to him. Iris mentions that understanding the local language was a free perk they got from heaven for their reincarnation. Dinner is served. Iris reveals a couple of thick steaks topped with lemon slices. Iris mentions the seasoning is simple salt and fruit juice, but her husband is already sold. He claps his hands to say grace, completely hyped by the meal. Taking a bite, he is immediately blown away. Delicious, he thinks, enjoying the mix of sour fruit and salty fat. Manabu cannot stop the praise. You are amazing at cooking, he shouts, wondering if they teach these skills in heaven. Iris looks away and mumbles about wanting to be more ladylike. She just wanted to be cute in her new life. Manabu brain basically short-circuits because of how adorable she is. He dives back into his meal, realizing this is the first time a girl has ever cooked for him. He declares her the best wife in the world and tries to propose again. Iris just giggles and reminds him that they already tied the knot. Dinner wraps up and Manabu feels satisfied even if he is not stuffed. The sun has officially gone down, and a single candle lights up their new home. While Iris handles her business outside, our boy realizes the long day is finally over. He settles in, thinking it is finally time to get some shut-eye. That is when he spots a glaring problem with their new living situation. This house only has one bed. The realization hits him hard. Is this where they are both supposed to sleep together? His brain short-circuits. It turns out our MC is a pure virgin with zero idea how to handle a situation like this. He reflects on his miserable history. Between years of studying and slaving away at a toxic company, he never even had a girlfriend. He wonders how he even managed to be so bold with her earlier today. It must have been pure momentum since she is exactly his type. He desperately tries to recall any useful advice from his questionable manga collection. A voice from the door snaps him back to reality as Iris announces she is done washing up. She stands before him looking radiant. He can barely find the words to acknowledge that he is married to a goddess. Iris asks to join him on the edge of the bed and the wood creaks under her. Manabu tells her to go ahead while trying to act like his heart isn't racing. Being this close makes him realize her skin is completely perfect. He tries to convince himself her beauty is too divine for any impure thoughts. That was a total lie. Our boy is officially struggling to keep it together after one look at her. She softly calls out his name and he practically jumps out of his skin. Twirling a lock of hair, she shyly asks what their next move should be. Manabu's brain hits critical mass as he repeats the question in his head. Iris drops the ultimate question, making the tension in the room shoot through the roof. Manabu is left speechless as his brain officially enters emergency shutdown mode. Our boy realizes he is not one of those dense protagonists who does not get the hint. He knows exactly what time it is, and the pressure is real. Hearts are thumping as the two sit together on their first night as a married couple. He gulps, realizing he has zero experience to actually take the lead here. The trauma of his old corporate life hits him hard. He remembers when his boss forced him into his first sales visit with zero training and a heavy smack to the face. The boss is hitting a breaking point, screaming for our boy to stop whining while he dishes out a threat. Manabu can only gasp that he is already at his limit. A fresh nosebleed marks the start of a lecture on the true nature of confidence. It turns out that real self-belief is reserved for those who actually have results to show for it. There is exactly one thing a rookie can count on when they have zero experience. Courage is the secret weapon that bridges the gap for a beginner. Standing against the massive corporate backdrop, the manager explains that ignorance is actually a shortcut to bravery. Not knowing the risks makes it much easier to dive in head first. The manager keeps the nightmare alive by screaming death threats at our boy while he scrambles to get out of sight. A regular Tuesday at the most toxic office on Earth. Back in the present, he decides that a little corporate brainwashing might actually be useful for once. He ignores the confusion and shouts that courage can get him through anything. It is time to lock in. The first goal on his checklist is a simple kiss. He places his hands on her shoulders but stops when he sees how much she is shaking. Realizing they are both stressed, he suggests calling it a night before things get too awkward. Our boy plays it cool, acknowledging that jumping into things might be a bit much since they basically just met today. Iris is a mess, barely able to form a coherent thought as she tries to respond. He decides to hit the brakes and suggests they take their time getting to know each other first. She looks crushed, offering a quiet apology for killing the mood. Seeing her feel guilty for not being ready only makes him appreciate her more. It is clear she is beating herself up over the expectations, which just highlights how genuine she is. To keep things comfortable, he proposes they just cuddle while they sleep. She is on board with the compromise, agreeing with a shy stutter. Lying next to a girl like Iris is the dream, but his brain is already starting to wonder if just lying there is going to be enough. Iris gets self-conscious about the tight space, worrying that she is taking up too much room. Our boy shuts down her insecurities instantly, telling her that it is not cramped at all. Their hearts are pounding as the tension hits a peak. In one sudden move, he pulls her into a tight embrace that catches her off guard. He buries his face against her, muffled as he tells her that if they aren't going all the way, he at least needs this much. Reminding her they are officially a couple sends her heart into a full-on meltdown. It is a high-tension moment as she tries to process the physical contact. He claims her warmth is curing his fatigue like a holy buff. Even while calling him a drama king, she leans into the moment and keeps the affection going. She starts second-guessing herself, wondering if the physical contact was actually welcome. The truth comes out quick when she admits she wants the moment to last forever. Everything finally settles into a pure, wholesome rhythm. A few whispered confessions are all it takes to lock in the perfect end to their first night. The sun is already up and the morning routine is in full swing. Iris is out there handling chores like a pro while Manabu finally rolls out of bed to join her. He gives her all the credit for a solid night of rest. The compliment hits home, and the vibe between them is nothing but wholesome. Seeing her handle everything with such grace makes her look like a master of domestic life. It feels like she is on a completely different level of maturity compared to him. Time to be productive and go chop some wood to avoid looking like a bum. However, the narration is already calling him out on his bad read of the situation. Iris starts the morning by losing her mind over the fact that she could not sleep a single wink. The tension from the previous night clearly got the better of her. A quick lore drop reveals that goddesses like Iris do not have parents. They are born naturally from a sacred tree, entering the world as divine infants without any human upbringing. Their life is all business, going from goddess school to working as assistants who manage different worlds and reincarnators. It is a strictly professional environment that leaves zero room for personal relationships. Being a virgin goddess with no experience makes this situation a struggle for her. Her heart is racing from sleeping next to a guy, and she cannot believe Manabu actually stopped halfway. Manabu tries to play it cool, but Iris is dealing with a major internal crisis. She was totally ready for that kiss to go the distance and is low-key salty that he actually pulled back. The frustration is real as she realizes all that romantic tension just evaporated into thin air. She is basically losing her mind over the fact that the big moment ended with him just falling asleep. She takes a moment to herself, trying to rationalize that the sudden stop was probably better for her sanity. It does not last long though, as she immediately goes back to thinking her husband is the coolest guy alive. The morning starts with a sudden shirtless flex as Manabu brings in a fresh load of firewood for breakfast. He is just trying to be helpful, but the view is clearly a lot for Iris to handle first thing in the morning. Iris is a stuttering mess after seeing him shirtless, letting out a panicked apology. Manabu realizes he is covered in sweat from the morning wood chopping and promises to go change into something less distracting. Manabu thinks he might be making her uncomfortable with his open shirt, but Iris is actually locked in. She is staring a hole through him, her eyes practically glued to his physique. The view of his toned arms and abs is hitting her with way too much stimulation. She is officially spiraling, panicking over whether a virgin goddess can get pregnant just by catching a glimpse of a shirtless man. Iris preps the pot for cooking and gets ready to use her magic for a quick ignition. The mood shifts when she mentions he just destroyed a family heirloom log, before she proceeds to snap her fingers to start the fire. Manabu is impressed by the instant fire, noting how convenient magic really is. Iris just watches the pot, clearly proud of her divine skills. The mood takes a sharp turn when Manabu realizes the firewood he grabbed from the shed was actually a cultural treasure. He is losing it while Iris breaks down in tears over the accidental destruction of history. Breakfast is served. They dig into a plate of grilled anger boar liver and leftover stir-fry. Manabu is loving the meal and calling Iris the best while she giggles and tells him to slow down. She then has a sudden epiphany that his body is being built from her cooking, which sends her into a blushing spiral. Iris is officially spiraling, screaming into her hands as her brain treats breakfast like an intimate date. She wonders if feeding him basically counts as a romantic milestone, proving she is even more of an airhead than expected. Manabu tries to reel her back in, but she hits him with a bizarre nickname that makes things even more awkward. He is left completely baffled by the sudden and overwhelming friendliness. Looking for a distraction, he wonders out loud if he can learn to use magic himself. It is time to see if he has any actual combat potential in this new world. The sudden career change caught the goddess completely off guard. No need to push himself when her divine skills have things covered. Safety first is the motto here, but the answer isn't exactly comforting. Not life-threatening, just incredibly painful. Opening the magic circuits is the main hurdle. Those school days left some deep mental scars on the poor girl. A benchmark for the pain reveals it feels like a bad toothache. Compared to the actual physical abuse from his old manager, this sounds like a walk in the park. Manabu doesn't hesitate for a second and tells Iris to get started. He's all business while lifting his shirt, but the goddess is clearly struggling to keep her cool as she reaches out. One touch is all it takes for Iris to realize just how tuned he actually is. While she's losing it over his physique, our boy is just shouting to power through the awkwardness. The room fills with a divine hum as Iris channels her energy. He can feel the raw power surging through his veins the moment her hands make contact. A magical seal erupts from his back with a burst of light. It's an instant shock to the system that sends him into a scream. Our boy hits the deck with a heavy thud, screaming in pure agony. Iris can only watch in horror as her hero is reduced to a pile of sweat and pain. The screams do not stop as he thrashes around like a fish out of water. He is genuinely wondering if this level of torture is part of the plan. Iris starts to spiral, realizing that if a guy who fights boars with broken ribs is crying like this, things are bad. Manabu's mind is completely gone, and he starts shouting that it feels like he is literally giving birth. A heavy, dark aura begins to radiate from his body as the magical process takes hold. He can only grit his teeth and wait for the storm to pass. Iris realizes our boy is actually built different because of his massive mana pool. He is fighting for his life while she geeks out over his potential. The realization hits that this torture is a marathon, not a sprint. Iris drops a 4-hour timer that makes the situation feel even more hopeless. The scene shifts to the evening air as the trial finally reaches its end. Heavy huffing from the bath suggests the process took everything he had left. He looks completely drained of all life after surviving the ordeal. Iris is frantically spamming apologies for the pain, but he is just relieved to be in one piece. The agony lasted for 6 hours, which is a record-breaking marathon of pain even for this world. He is just glad the trial is over so he can finally start his magic journey. Our boy is already dreaming of throwing fireballs like a proper protagonist. Iris is fully on board with the plan and gives him the green light. She explains that his energy is perfect for fire magic, so he should be able to start blasting right away. He can hardly believe she can just sense his power level, but she promises it becomes second nature. He realizes that reading mana is just like spotting the shady characters at his old toxic job. All those years of corporate suffering are finally paying off as a survival skill. Time for target practice. Manabu points out a nearby rock and gets ready to test his new powers. He realizes the translation perk works on magic books too. Following the instructions, he starts channeling energy directly into his palm. A massive surge of energy erupts from his hand. Iris is losing her mind over his raw potential, claiming his huge mana pool will let him cast god tier spells. She officially declares him a genius. Our boy has never been praised like this before, and the ego boost has him feeling on top of the world. He is already visualizing himself as the strongest mage in this world. All that is left is to shout the spell name and let it fly. He steals his resolve for the big debut. This is the official start of the Keidu Manabu legend. He channels everything into a single shout as he calls out the fireball. The target is as good as gone. The power level is off the charts as the blast turns the world white. Iris can only watch in horror as his first success becomes a disaster. Back at the site of the disaster, Iris is straight up having a mental breakdown, spamming apologies from the bottom of her heart while tears stream down her face. Manabu looks like he just survived a war zone with his clothes in tatters, but he is more concerned about Iris than his own crispy skin. He tries to calm her down while she channels some healing magic to fix the damage. The two of them take a breather in the shade of a tree to process the absolute chaos. Iris keeps spiraling, convinced she should have predicted the magical meltdown before it even started. She sinks deeper into her feelings, begging for forgiveness as her mood hits rock bottom. She even mentions how a goddess named Freya always calls her out for being selfish and not caring about anyone else. Manabu counters her doubt, calling her the most selfless person he knows. He crouches down to comfort her while she continues to sob. Finally, he asks her to explain exactly when she heard those hurtful words. Back in her trainee days, a vintage phone rings in the goddess waiting room to announce a new arrival. While the senior goddesses are busy gossiping, a younger Iris steps up to answer it herself. Things go south quickly and little Iris is left bowing and apologizing for a mistake. She was just trying to help, but ended up taking all the heat for the failure. The truth is out, and it is clear the seniors were the real problem for just gossiping instead of working. Manabu concludes that the person taking initiative is bound to mess up more than those doing nothing. Iris just lets out a heavy sigh, still weighed down by her own guilt. Our boy realizes it is easy to judge from the sidelines, but way harder for the person actually suffering. He suspects Iris has been dealing with this kind of treatment her whole life, and just takes it because she is too kind. Seeing his wife cry over something so unfair just hits different. It makes him want to protect her even more. He holds her hand and tells her she is a genuinely good person after just one day together. Iris is stunned that he is not actually mad about the pain she caused. Iris says it is fine to be a little angry with her. He just gives her a head pat and compares the magical torture to a bad trip to the dentist. Her kindness is the only reason he can stay chill. Our boy looks her dead in the eye and drops a serious compliment. He tells Iris that her selfless nature actually inspires him to be a better version of himself. He keeps the momentum going and tells her how much he loves and cares for her. Iris is practically glowing, her eyes sparkling with stars as she processes the genuine affection. Manabu tells her to have some confidence because he vouches for her character. He suddenly decides they should try the training once more, which catches her completely off guard. She can only whisper his name as the focus shifts back to their magical practice. He is fully locked in and refuses to quit until his magic actually works. He brushes off the danger of dying like it is nothing, though Iris still looks incredibly worried about what might happen next. Manabu points out that her constant self-reliance is admirable, but he wants to share the load. He thinks it is high time she lets someone be kind to her for once. He starts listing off all the work she does and realizes magic is not just a cheat code, it is an exhausting job. The sheer amount of effort she puts in finally clicks for him. He promises that once he gets the hang of magic, things will finally get easier for her. Since they are a team now, they should tackle the struggle together. Iris is completely sold on the vision, but our boy is focused on the grind. He puts everything on the line to make this attempt count, channeling his energy with total focus. Manabu notices his control has improved, leaving Iris completely shocked at his rapid progress. He casually confirms his new power while admitting he just wanted to show her his cool side. Iris can only stare in disbelief at how fast he is growing. The smooth talk sends Iris into a total meltdown as she wonders if this is actually the power of love. Seeing his wife smile like that is the ultimate motivation. He doubles down on the charm and prepares to give her a real show. Manabu is locking in and channeling every bit of main character energy he has left. He screams for the world to take whatever he is about to dish out. An explosion rocks the entire area and sends our boy flying. Iris watches from the sidelines while losing her mind over the chaos. He struggles back to his feet after another failed attempt. With his clothes in tatters and lungs burning, he refuses to give up the grind. Iris finally hits her limit and begs him to stop. She points out that he has already survived 100 explosions today. Our boy has zero chill. He claims 100 failures is nothing compared to his soul-crushing corporate past. Iris just wonders if the product he was selling back then was actually the problem. He is not letting the grind stop him. Manabu believes the person who fails the most is the one who will eventually win. He doubles down on his confidence and gives her a quick thumbs up. Iris is completely sold on his dedication and promises to stay by his side until the very end. Our boy thinks she is being way too adorable right now. He knows her healing magic is the only reason he can still stand. Time to lock in. Dark energy gathers in his palm as he ignores everything else to find the right rhythm. He repeats the same word over and over to keep his focus sharp. He finally lets it rip, shouting for a fireball as the dark mass of energy shoots forward. But the results are underwhelming, and he wonders why his accidental explosions were actually stronger. Sensing danger, he grabs Iris and shoves her to the dirt just in time. A massive blast of dark energy tears through the area, proving his new power is way too intense for a simple hunt. Our boy is finally catching a vibe. He is just glad to finally be useful instead of a liability. This hits Iris right in the feels. She was not expecting him to be this pure. Time for a reality check on his background. He spent his entire life as a study bot before losing his parents and getting trapped in a black company grind set. The paperwork tells the full story. Keidu Manabu was never given a chance to actually live. Iris reflects on his past, noting that most people would have turned bitter after everything he went through. The divine report shows the relentless grind of his previous life, where he refused to let exhaustion stop him from studying. She is genuinely floored by his resilience. Knowing that kind of pressure would have crushed her, she cannot believe he stayed positive through it all. Watching him on screen is an entire vibe, and Iris is officially sold on his dedication. She gets so lost in the moment that it takes her a second to realize he is standing right there asking what is wrong. Manabu leans over to check if she got hurt during the blast. Iris can only look back and whisper his name, completely caught in the moment. Seeing him in action was the final straw for her heart. She admits his cool side is way too much to handle and finally confesses her feelings out loud. The confession has our boy more shaken than the actual explosion. Glitching out while the smoke clears, his brain tries to reboot. He finally manages to squeeze out a weak thank you. Our boy is back on the grind, hunting for dinner deep in the woods. Spotting a group of boars, he starts charging up his magic, this time aiming to control it properly. He lets a fireball fly, but his power level is still way too cracked for these woods. The entire clearing gets rocked by a shockwave that leaves nothing but smoke and craters. Walking through the wreckage with his knife ready, it's clear his magic is more of an airstrike than a simple spell. This is just carpet bombing at this point. Later that night, he decides to hit the books and study up on his fundamentals. Reading through the magic tome is a real grind, and his brain is finally starting to reach its limit. Iris checks in on him, wondering if he is overworking himself. He brushes her off, trying to stay focused on his studies. A month in, and life in another world is actually looking up. Between the solid roof and some monster-repelling magic, he has finally got a safe place to crash and plenty of meat to grill. Living on a mix of fresh meat and wild greens has our boy feeling better than he ever did in his past life. There are still a few missing supplies though, so a trip to the nearest town is definitely next on the list. Things are going well, but the mental strain of all this magic study is finally catching up. He has officially reached his limit, and his brain is about to tap out for the night. A sudden view of Iris's assets has Manabu's brain short-circuiting in an instant. He clutches his head in the library, trying to process the sheer fanservice happening right in front of him. His mind is officially in the gutter as he imagines Iris looking cute under the covers. The dude is fighting for his life, screaming internally about wanting to just give her a hug while she is busy in the kitchen. With swirly eyes and a face full of sweat, he reflects on the daily struggle of living with his beautiful wife. Sleeping next to her every night is basically a test of endurance he was not prepared for. He grips his leg and tries to force himself to stay calm. He made a promise to take things slow, but holding back those urges is proving to be a full-time job. Manabu tries to distract himself with a book about plants, but his mind immediately jumps to the wrong conclusion. He wonders if a specific leaf is an aphrodisiac, completely unaware that his wife is reaching her limit too. Iris is officially losing it and screams her heart out. She is tired of playing it cool and wants to get closer to Manabu right this second. Being a virgin goddess apparently comes with a massive amount of pure energy. It is a level of intensity that would honestly intimidate anyone who is not ready for it. A month of hunting has clearly turned Manabu into a beast. Just being near his new physique has Iris feeling more excited than she can handle. She is totally locked in on his physique, noticing how toned his stomach is and how those biceps really stand out. She wonders if this is all some kind of deliberate trap or if she should just give in and treat those arms like a snack. Back to reality, she tries to maintain her image as a holy maiden to keep everything polite. She puts the blame entirely on him for being completely oblivious to her attempts at acting bold. Iris is having a total breakdown over her appearance, worried that her body looks sloppy or unattractive. Watching from the sidelines, Manabu realizes she couldn't be more wrong about herself. He questions if her clothes are just too revealing today or if his mind is finally playing tricks on him. It is a struggle to stay composed when his internal monologue is screaming that she looks amazing. Back in the main room, Iris is psyching herself up for a big success as she announces that dinner is ready. Manabu gives a simple thanks, completely unaware that his wife is planning a romantic breakthrough. After reflecting on their first month of married life, our boy decides it is time to take things to the next level. He resolves to find the perfect moment tomorrow to formally ask her out on a date. Iris serves up a giant pile of grilled raging boar liver and practically begs him to start eating. She is leaning all the way into the housewife role tonight. Manabu notes how hearty the meal looks before the realization hits. Liver is a major stamina booster, and he starts questioning if she has an ulterior motive for the night. She adds a salad to the mix while blushing. He tries to convince himself he is just overthinking the situation as he stares at the greens. The realization hits that the greens are actually bari plants which are used to make aphrodisiacs. Our boy realizes the stamina festival has officially begun. She is practically begging him to eat up so he will finally crack. The goddess has zero chill when it comes to her master plan for the night. It turns out she spent hours in the wild just to harvest those specific plants. All that effort was just to secure this one win. The romantic vibe dies instantly when the pain hits. Manabu is totally lost as the situation takes a sharp turn for the worse. She points out the exact spot that is bothering her. Iris mentions she got a little hurt gathering those plants, then adds that she cannot use healing magic on herself just to keep the vibes going. Our boy is immediately locked in with concern. She puts on her best performance and whispers about the pain while blushing like crazy. This goddess is fully committed to the physical contact tactic. In her mind, direct skin-to-skin contact is the ultimate trigger that will finally make him snap. She waits for the moment he gives in to his primal instincts. But instead of losing control, our MC stays pure and just starts panicking about her health. He grabs her hands and begs her not to push herself. Manabu is frustrated that his magic is only good for blowing things up instead of helping her. He starts hunting for a medical book to make up for his lack of healing spells. His focus is entirely on her recovery, completely ignoring the fact that he gets beat up every single day. Iris can hardly handle how much he prioritizes her safety over his own. The pedestal she is putting him on keeps getting higher because of how amazing he is. But his pure heart is becoming a massive obstacle for the spicy night she had planned. The dam finally breaks and the goddess lets her true feelings fly. She demands to know why he won't stop acting like a saint and just do something naughty for once. The confession hits like a truck and the air in the room suddenly feels heavy while the reality of what she said sinks in. Our boy is stuck on a loop of pure disbelief as he tries to process the situation. He can barely form a single thought while his brain short-circuits. She finally hits her limit and starts glitching out like a broken server. The embarrassment of being so bold finally catches up and shuts her down. The vibe is heavy as Manabu tries to figure out if he actually heard her right. Iris is currently vibrating like a phone on silent mode as she waits for his reaction. Our boy goes for the direct approach and asks her straight up if she really wants to do it. This sends her into a frantic state of denial as she panics and tries to find an exit. She hits him with a legendary lie about needing to watch a recorded TV drama. Manabu can only stare in disbelief because there is zero technology in this entire world. Iris tries to pull the goddess card to save her reputation after that massive fail. Manabu knows things are already way too late for any of that to matter. Iris is struggling to keep it together while her heart beats out of her chest, fully admitting that she feels the same way he does. Our boy finally locks in and gives her a serious look. All right. He stands up and starts walking with purpose, announcing that they are finally going to do it. She can only let out a confused squeak as he marches past her. Cut to the dining table where he claps his hands over a massive bowl of greens. Itadakimasu. He aggressively starts inhaling the greens, announcing that dinner is just the first step. Iris watches him closely, her mind already on the warm bath that follows. He finally drops the saint act and asks her straight up if she is ready to do it. The vibe shifts instantly as he looks her in the eye and asks if she will really be with him. They sit in a tense silence as the weight of his confession settles between them. She manages a soft confirmation, making it clear she is all in. Outside, the bath water is already steaming and ready for the next phase of the plan. Our boy is speechless as Iris stands before him in nothing but a shirt, her face glowing with heat. They eventually settle onto the edge of the bed together, both of them caught in a heavy silence. Manabu takes her hands and notices how different they feel from his. They are soft and warm, making him want to keep touching them forever. Iris stammers a thank you and notes that his hands feel different too. Our boy agrees, feeling the contrast between them. She calls his hands reliable and cool, viewing them as proof of his dedication. The tension between them is through the roof. Manabu suggests they might actually be a great match. Outside the house, they reflect on how being together means noticing every little detail. The vibe is high-key awkward as they hold hands and share a nervous laugh. Our boy stammers out that he is glad things are going well. Iris looks to the side with a blush, softly agreeing with his take on their compatibility. He starts dropping some deep relationship wisdom. To him, the best partner is someone who looks at your weird quirks and thinks they are cute. She immediately puts his theory to work by telling him his loud snoring is actually adorable. He is caught off guard and starts apologizing for his noisy sleep habits. Iris pats his head with a giggle, forgiving his noisy habits since she finds them adorable. Looking up from below, Manabu is caught off guard by the view. His eyes are locked onto the sight right in front of him. Even if he tries to look away, there is no escaping the close-up view. The tension snaps as he suddenly pins her to the mattress. Leaning in close, he admits he is at his limit and wants to feel the distance between them disappear. She stares back with a heavy blush, begging him to give her more. The sudden shift in her energy sends a shockwave through the room and finally our boy did the deed. The wooden cabin groans as Iris pours her heart out with a desperate confession. By the time the sun comes up, birds are chirping outside the quiet home. Our boy wakes up to find Iris hovering inches away from his face with a deep blush. She quickly pulls back and stammers an apology, admitting she only got that close because he looked too cute while sleeping. An awkward silence hangs in the air while the two sit together in bed, both of them feeling flustered. The heavy vibe is suddenly cut short by a thunderous crash that vibrates through the entire building. Adrenaline takes over as they scramble out of bed to find their storage area in ruins. The wreckage is everywhere, leaving them standing in shock at the sudden destruction. Our duo finds a giant furry creature lying in the wreckage of their storage room. Iris calls it a dragon's gift, while Manabu struggles to process the scale of the situation. Getting a good look at the giant claws, our boy stammers out a question about what they are even dealing with. Iris explains that giant monsters sometimes drop their lunch while flying. The thought of a dragon accidentally dropping a huge snack is enough to freak anyone out. Even if it is a rare occurrence, the idea of giant animals falling from the sky is a terrifying new reality. Looking at those oversized teeth, it is clear they barely avoided a disaster. Iris insists that a dragon dropping its lunch on them is as rare as a lightning strike. Manabu just scratches his head, not feeling particularly lucky about the gaping hole in their wall. Standing in the middle of the debris, the weight of the repair bill starts to sink in. They realize that rebuilding is going to require professional help and a lot of materials they do not have. The thought of forest bugs crawling through the open gaps sends Iris into a panic. Seeing no other choice, Manabu calls it and decides they are heading to the nearest town for supplies. We open on a full-on feast, a glistening plate of rabbit glazed and rich bacon fat. Manabu takes a serious bite while Iris leans in waiting for his reaction. Our boy is absolutely loving it, shouting that the food is good. Iris is so relieved she starts geeking out about the perfect salt level and flavor. 1 week after the storage room was destroyed, the two of them are hanging out in the debris. It turns out that the incident was actually a dragon's gift in disguise. Turns out that giant rabbit was not just a house destroyer, but a top-tier ingredient. After a quick inspection, it is clear they have hit the jackpot with some high-quality meat. Manabu wastes no time making a plan to preserve the meat and sell it in town to fund the repairs. Since they are broke, this rabbit is basically their construction budget on 4 legs. Iris admits she was stressing hard that the flavor would not pass the vibe check. Since their whole future was riding on her cooking, Manabu tells her she is taking it way too seriously, but her relief is real. He goes all in on the praise, calling her the best wife in the world because of how good the food is. Iris just giggles and plays it off, but she is definitely loving the ego boost. He hoists the heavy pack and locks in. Our boy is officially heading to town to get those house repairs started. Standing by the ruins of their storage room, the thought of going out with Iris finally sinks in. He pulls out a map to plot their course through the woods. Iris tries to offer a hand with the gear, but he is in too good of a mood to care. He admits he is actually hyped because they finally get a break from the daily grind. Between the constant hunting and the magic training, they have been busy every single day. He points out that this walk is their first real chance to just vibe together without any pressure. Manabu offers to lead the way, kicking off their first real outing. Iris is over the moon as she reaches out to accept his hand. The two venture deep into the woods, enjoying a peaceful stroll together. Iris is in her own little world of happiness, unable to stop herself from giggling at how right this feels. Simple hand holding still has Iris short-circuiting, even though they have already done way more than that. Our boy just watches her pout, clearly amused by her reaction. For a former goddess, this simple human connection is a brand new experience. Iris admits she never had anyone to share this kind of warmth with back in the heavens. Manabu is doing some mental math on goddess culture after hearing that male gods are mostly just old men. He starts wondering if the heavens are basically just a giant all-girls school. Iris is absolutely glowing as she admits Manabu is the first man she has ever held hands with. Our boy gets a bit flustered, but they keep the momentum going as they head deeper into the forest. A month of exploring has confirmed that there are not many strong monsters nearby. This is a huge relief for Manabu, who finally feels like he can relax and just enjoy the walk with Iris. The vibes are immaculate with clear skies and a warm breeze lighting the path. It is the absolute perfect weather for a walking date, but the atmosphere is starting to shift. Our boy is making good time, but Iris is already tapped out and face down in the dirt. She admits that physical labor was definitely not in her goddess job description. Her legs are shaking with every step. Even when Manabu offers to take the bag, she insists on being a productive member of the team. She loses her footing and nearly takes a dive, but she manages to catch herself just in time. Wobbling on the edge, she tries to flex her balance beam skills. The confidence does not last long before gravity wins the rematch. She starts to tip over, and our MC is already diving in to save her before she hits the ground. Manabu screams her name as Iris loses her footing and turns into a human tumbleweed. He can only groan in defeat as she rolls down the hill and ends up in a dazed heap at the bottom. Manabu asks if she needs a break, but Iris is too busy sobbing over the trauma of her fall. It is a rough day for a former goddess who apparently lacks the ability to heal her own injuries. She suddenly snaps back with a burst of energy, claiming this physical pain is nothing. Apparently, the gossip and drama from the senior goddesses was way more painful than rolling down a hill. Manabu realizes the heavens were just one big toxic office environment. Iris sprints ahead, yelling about finding a future without bullies, leaving our boy to follow her lead with a serious look on his face. Since Iris pushed through her exhaustion, the duo managed to travel farther than they expected. Manabu sets up a small tent they found back at the house and settles in for a quiet night by the fire. As he wonders who the original owner of the camping gear was, the peaceful atmosphere is shattered by a high-pitched shout echoing from the water. The sudden noise catches our boy off guard. Manabu shouts to check on her, but Iris is currently dealing with a buggy situation in the middle of her bath. She tries to play it cool while frantically splashing around after a big bug decides to join her. He stays out of sight behind a tree to give her some privacy. Offering a quick apology for the interruption, Iris wraps up her bath with a towel on her head, finally feeling refreshed after the buggy encounter. Iris is slumped over, completely drained. Manabu gives her props for the hard work, but she is barely holding it together as they rest by the fire. He stays calm and mentions he is doing just fine. A quick apology follows for the chaotic scene she made with the bug. Manabu just gives her a dry reality check, knowing she is not built for the forest life. Out of nowhere, the MC drops an apology that makes her stop in her tracks. Iris is completely lost, wondering why he would feel bad about anything right now. Life in the dirt is a huge downgrade compared to the clean heavens she used to know. Manabu promises to step up and provide a better life where she does not have to struggle, all because he wants his wife to be happy. Manabu is really down on himself, feeling pathetic because he is just a guy from another world with zero repair skills. The struggle is real as she admits that chores like fetching water and cooking by hand make every day a grind. She shuts down his negativity by declaring she is actually happy, leaving our boy completely stunned by the vibe shift. Leaning in close, she explains that even if life is hard, it is fulfilling because she is finally with the person she loves. She admits the toxic gossip in the heavens was never her vibe, contrasting it with how kind and caring he has always been. She can feel his love in every gesture. Blushing deeply, she looks up and declares that being with someone like him is the true definition of happiness. The moment she drops a final confession, the atmosphere shifts. Manabu suddenly grabs her, catching her completely off guard. Manabu gets an intense look in his eyes, making her scream that he looks like a beast. The tent starts rustling as things get heated between the two of them. Iris screams as the tent starts shaking, caught off guard by the sudden shift in energy. By the next morning, the two finally arrive at the town gates. They are both feeling the physical toll of the journey as they head into the bustling market. That's it for today, guys! If you made it to the end, drop a Iris in the comments so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.